Hi there, I'm Sophie, and today I'll be discussing the 12 basic principles of animation that were first introduced by Disney animators Ollie Johnston and Frank Thomas in 1981. The first principle is squash and stretch. This is one of the most important principles as it can be applied to almost anything. Squash and stretch can be used to emphasize an object's speed, momentum, weight, and mass by making an object longer or flatter depending on how it's moving. This can be seen in bouncing balls, where they stretch out as they get closer to the ground and squash when they impact. The second principle is anticipation. This helps to tell the audience what action is about to happen by making a character prepare for it. People do this in real life to create energy, and without it, realism is often lost. Anticipation can even be seen in simple objects such as balls like this one, where it rears back and forward before jumping over the gap. The third principle is staging. Animators use this to make sure that their ideas are presented completely and clearly to viewers. This can be applied to acting, timing, camera angles and positions, and even setting. Basically, you want to always be in control of what the audience is looking at, so they get the full effect of your animation. The fourth principle is straight ahead and pose to pose, which are two different ways to animate. Straight ahead makes the poses from start to finish, creating them as you move along the timeline. This can be good if you're animating something unpredictable like fire, but sometimes you don't end up where you want and have to do a lot of editing. Pose to pose makes all the main poses first and then fills in the gaps. This gives you a great sense of where you're going with the action and gives you a lot more control. The fifth principle is follow through and overlapping action. This principle adds realism to appendages on an object, like hair, ears, or arms, because in real life these never move at the same time as the main object or body. Follow through is when an object continues to move after the main body has stopped, and overlapping action is the offset between the timing of the appendage and everything else. Basically, they're similar aspects of the same principle, but both are important to consider when animating realistic objects or characters. The sixth principle is slow in and slow out. Put simply, when moving, objects tend to start slow, build speed, and then finish slow. By adding this small detail to almost any type of animation, you can easily make an action seem more lifelike. The seventh principle is arcs. Almost every living creature moves in circular motions known as arcs, not mechanical straight lines. By adding arcs anywhere to your animation, you can easily add realism and personality, depending on the arc's intensity. The eighth principle is secondary action. This refers to any gesture that supports the main action to add dimension to the character you're animating. This could be making a character lick their lips before eating, or even moving their hands in a certain way as they walk. The ninth principle is timing. This is important as the personality and nature of an animation is greatly affected by the number of frames between each main action.
What?
This can be seen in head turn animations, where having less frames makes the character seem shocked, compared to seeming relaxed when more frames are added. The 10th principle is exaggeration. Despite what you may think, all poses and actions can be exaggerated to increase their impact on viewers. Exaggerated doesn't necessarily mean more distorted though, it means more convincing, which is important to remember. The 11th principle is solid drawing. In 2D animation, it's important to make sure your drawings feel like they are three-dimensional, with volume, weight, and balance. This can easily be done by using shapes like cubes, cylinders, and spheres in your drawings. This principle also applies to 3D animation because you still need to be mindful of weight and balance, especially in character poses. You should always try to avoid symmetry and remember where the character's weight is centered. The final principle is appeal. In the end, your animation should still be appealing to look at and have personality. It can be hard to create something that's appealing to everybody though, so some simple ways to do this include using a variety of shapes, playing with proportions, and keeping it simple. This will make your animations more dynamic and interesting. And that's it. While it can take some time to get the hang of them, it's important to master these basic principles because they're at the core of everything you animate. But don't get too bogged down in formalities and remember to be creative and have fun with your animations.